My child. Some mornings, you wake up with an empty ache in your chest, feeling as though something unseen has slipped away and you can't even name it. You plead for something undeniable, a brilliant sign, a miracle big enough to shatter every single doubt, letting you know that I am truly still right here. You want to watch seas part, mountains move, and prison gates break wide open. You desperately need an overwhelming breakthrough to quiet the loud storm raging inside you. But my precious child, while you wait for those wonders, how many times have you felt on the verge of breaking, yet somehow you are still standing? Believed you were sinking beneath the waves, yet you still kept breathing. Felt ready to throw in the towel, yet found just enough strength to whisper a quiet, desperate prayer. Where do you think that came from? You call it willpower or grit, but I call it my hand holding your soul. I do not perform flashy spectacles just to prove my divine strength. I draw near to keep your heart from shattering completely, even when nobody else is watching. In those quiet, hidden moments when people think you are just surviving. Let me tell you the real truth. I do not prove my love through dramatic signs, but through the gentle presence holding your soul together. You have gotten used to judging everything by what your physical eyes can see. So when there are no flashy miracles, you assume I am silent, distant, or running late. You do not notice that a far deeper miracle is happening right now, silent and steady in deep places you have never explored. Every time you sit alone in the quiet, feeling like your entire world is crumbling, yet somehow you still find the strength to stand up. Wash your face and face another difficult day that is not just your own strength. That is my hand holding up the secret places nobody else can see. Every time you think you won't survive this trial yet, the next morning you still have breath to call out to me. Even if it is just a sigh, it proves I watched over you all night, guarding your last spark of hope. I may not arrive as lightning splitting the clouds, but I am the sky holding back the storm from destroying you. I might not instantly alter the situation right in front of you, but I am quietly building your spiritual strength and endurance day by day. You cannot see me working, but only because of my presence has your soul been saved from the dark edge you have walked so close to. Sometimes you sit in a crowd of people, with a smile on your lips, keeping up easy conversations while inside your heart lies a pitch-black room. You believe nobody can ever reach that hidden place, not even God, because you have locked that door with deep disappointment, with heavy emotional wounds and answers you think will never arrive. And yet, inside that shuttered space, a quiet stillness lingers that you can never quite explain. The exact spot where you refuse to utterly break still, holding onto a tiny, fragile hope of a better tomorrow. That is exactly where I am waiting. I am not there as thunder tearing down walls, but as a healing warmth, keeping your mind from shattering into pieces that could never be restored. When you run out of words to pray, I still hear the silent cries aching in your heart. When you lack the strength to believe, I will not judge you. I gently wrap my arms around your tired faith, cradling it until your heart can trust once more. You believe love has to shout to be real, but my grace stays right beside you when everyone else has walked away. You think that if I loved you, I would stop every storm in your life, shut every painful door, and clear every rough path before you take a step. But my child, my love is not designed to weaken you or take away your power to stand. It is a love that trains you to stand tall even while the fierce winds still rage. I have protected you from unseen dangers more times than you know, but I also let some trials touch you, so you can learn to trust me with all your heart instead of relying on your own understanding. I don't cause your pain just to teach you lessons. I step into that pain to change its meaning. When you feel completely alone, staring at questions that have no answers, I am right there, turning those doubts into quiet doorways that bring you closer to me. My love isn't a shield that blocks every single blow, but a spark of life, keeping the seed alive, ready to sprout even under the coldest, hardest dirt. I don't call you to be a soul that only survives on rare miracles, but one that trusts my constant presence. So my child, when you don't see anything spectacular, don't rush to assume that nothing is happening. Look closely at the days you called ordinary, the mornings you dragged yourself out of bed despite a heavy heart, and the moments you chose what was right even when nobody noticed. Those times you held back a sharp word even though you had every right to speak. That wasn't just your own willpower. That was me whispering in your soul, gently steering you toward the light. Remember when a dark, heavy thought almost dragged you under, but somehow you paused. You changed your mind and chose a different path. That was my hand on your shoulder, not loud or dramatic, just enough to change one single step, which you will eventually see turned your entire life around. My love never needs a spotlight. It just needs a heart willing to open a tiny crack so I can slip in with a quiet, unnoticed tenderness. With every little opening, I am building an inner strength that even the most spectacular miracle cannot match. The deep resilience of a soul that knows it is loved even without visible proof. I have quietly done so many things for you that, if I listed them all, you'd realize you've never had a single ordinary day. Every time your thoughts started drifting into dark places and suddenly a song, a scripture verse, or a peaceful image crossed your mind and rescued you. You might call that coincidence, but I call it my gentle knock on your heart. Every time you wanted to fire off an angry text but deleted it, or wanted to snap at someone but stayed silent. You call that self-control, but I call it me bandaging the wound before it bled any further. Every time you almost gave up but suddenly found the grit to say, I will try one more time. In truth, that was the exact moment I poured a drop of fresh strength into your soul. You have gotten used to chalking all these quiet moments up to your own personality, your inner resilience, or just good circumstances, never realizing there is a divine presence quietly adjusting the very rhythms inside you. I do not just stand on the sidelines applauding your steps. I live within you, keeping your feet from slipping off the path I created for you. My child, let me teach you a beautiful, quiet art, the art of spotting my fingerprints in the smallest details. Stop looking only for spectacular signs. When you wake up and find your heart is still beating, your breath is steady, and your mind, though tired, can still tell right from wrong and beauty from ugliness, that is already a quiet miracle. When you feel completely misunderstood in a conversation, but a quiet voice deep inside whispers, slow down. Do not react just yet. Soften your heart a little. That whisper does not come to silence you, but to save your relationship from a painful break. Or when you are exhausted and just want to hide from everyone, yet you still cook a little extra for a neighbor or send an encouraging text when you are struggling yourself. That is not just you being strong. That is my love pouring directly through your broken places. If you only pause for a second to recognize this, you will realize I am closer than you ever thought, right in the middle of your ordinary days. Sometimes to help you see where I am, I let you look back at the dark paths you walked all on your own. You remember those times you shut your heart and tried to carry everything yourself, making your own plans, forcing yourself to stay strong, only for everything to fall apart anyway. Not because I was punishing you, but because you stepped away from the place where my love holds you up. When you shut me out, every heavy burden fell on your shoulders and it was too much to carry. That was when a quiet truth became etched deep into your mind. There were days you stumbled through life alone, and days we walked side by side. There were words you said out of fear and words you spoke knowing I was right beside you. The difference is not in how loud your success is, but in the quiet peace in your soul. If you pay close attention, you will see that wherever peace is quiet, wherever struggles do not break your spirit, wherever suffering fails to steal your kindness, you can be sure I am there. I know you blame yourself when you cannot feel me, thinking that if you do not shake, or shed tears, or feel some physical sign, I must be far from you. But my child, emotions are just tiny ripples on the water, while my love is the powerful current running deep beneath the surface. There are days when your feelings run completely dry, when your prayers feel like empty repeating words, but that is exactly when your faith shines brightest. You keep coming back to me even when you see absolutely nothing, hear nothing, and feel no spark. I value those quiet steps more than any emotional high, because you are not just chasing a feeling. You are building a relationship. You are not looking for a show, you are seeking me. Never look down on those dry prayers. They are the quiet threads keeping your soul from drifting out to sea. Do not ignore the times you open scripture, but only read a few lines as your thoughts wander. Those tiny fragments, when touched by me, can sleep like a seed for years before suddenly blooming when you need it most. Slowly, as you begin to look at your life this way, you will see two deep changes happening at once. Your outside circumstances might not shift, but the way you stand strong inside them is entirely different. I am still the one keeping you upright, but now you realize what is holding you. You live with the constant awareness that you are deeply held. This truth does not make you prideful, nor does it look down on others. It makes you gentle, humble, and truly grateful. You start to see that if you have not shattered yet, it is not because you are so tough, but because there is a loving Father who never lets the weight outgrow your soul's capacity. You stop demanding a massive, earth-shaking miracle, and instead whisper, "Thank you that I am still standing, that my heart is still soft, and that I can still see the good." Once that quiet gratitude fills you, this promise becomes a living reality inside you, far more than just some pretty words. My love is not proven through flashy signs, but through the quiet presence that keeps you going day after day. For so long you believed you had to earn your worth, that you needed massive achievements, something loud so everyone would look at you with deep respect. You wanted a dramatic breakthrough just so you could say, "Now I have changed, now I am good enough, now I deserve to be loved." But while you were chasing those signs, I was quietly rebuilding your worth with something different, a grace that requires no proof at all. Even before a baby speaks a single word, before they achieve anything at all, they are deeply loved, not for what they do, but simply for who they are. I loved you long before you could whisper my name, before you knew right from wrong or how to choose your path. I placed my mark on you, holding you up with a love that never lets go. My constant presence, not the applause of this world, is the only proof you ever need of your value. Everything you do just to feel noticed is only an echo of your old fears, while your real worth stands right beside you, waiting for the moment you turn around and finally see it. Never assume I am waiting for you to get everything right before I show up. Actually, I usually draw closest during the exact moments you feel the most shame, when you slip up and when you wear yourself out with guilt, terrified of others finding out of me, knowing, dreading their judgment and rejection. But my precious child, those are the exact moments I refuse to turn away from you. I open my heart not to ignore your mistakes, but to bind up the soul bruised and bent by pain. You haven't realized that shame doesn't cause true change. It is just your heart searching for a safe place to belong. You don't have to change out of fear that I might leave you. Real healing happens when you realize I stay right by your side, even when you still don't know how to walk. My quiet presence doesn't erase your mistakes, but it keeps your soul from being completely crushed by failure. I will make you face reality, but I wrap it in a mercy gentle enough to keep you from breaking. This shows you that your worth can never be stolen by bad choices. It only gets hidden when you forget how deeply and completely I love you. I have watched you try so hard to act stronger than you really feel inside, putting on a smile through the pain, keeping quiet when you should speak, carrying heavy burdens all alone. You think that is the only way you'll be worthy, the only way you won't burden others, and the only way to avoid looking weak. But, my child, that isn't real strength. Your soul is wearing heavy rusted armor that doesn't fit you anymore, bruising your skin and making you completely forget who you actually are. I am not asking you to be a conqueror. I am calling you to true maturity. Maturity doesn't mean hiding the broken cracks inside, but letting me shine my light through them until warmth flows out to others. You have absolutely nothing to prove to me. You aren't some messy draft waiting to be corrected. You are a masterpiece still in progress. Every fragile piece, every sensitive spot, and every quiet fear inside you is not an obstacle but a window for my love to enter. Once you start realizing this, the questions about your own self-worth begin to shift. Instead of asking, "Am I truly worthy of your love?" you will start to ask, "What are you showing me through this grace, loving me even when I don't understand myself?" My love is never a reward. I love you as a fresh start. You don't have to wait to become someone special before I choose you. Because I have already chosen you, you now have the power to grow and become. My grace is not a prize you have to win. It is the foundation where you rise above your brokenness. Every time you fall, my love won't instantly make your problems vanish, but it will hold you gently from behind, keeping your spirit from being completely shattered by the impact. And when you stand up again, finally free from having to earn my love, you will realize the truth. I don't prove my love with massive miracles, but by refusing to leave your side with every single step you take. And then, as your true identity begins to shift, everything you offer to this world changes with it. You will stop begging others to tell you that you are enough. Instead, you'll walk in to share the healing peace you have received from me. You do not have to be a blinding light tearing through the dark. Just be a quiet little candle lighting up the next few steps. The world won't cheer for that, but your soul knows it is real. True strength is not about performing when others are watching, it is about what remains when the spotlights finally fade. And that is exactly where you find the purpose I gave you. I'll become a quiet reflection of my love, not by putting on a big show, but through a heart that has simply learned to stay close to me. There is a lesson I need you to learn before we move forward. Trust does not grow from loud promises, but from realizing who is beside you in every single moment. You have gotten so used to believing only what you can see, always searching for physical proof and begging for a clear sign to lean on. But my child, outside signs will only keep you afloat for a moment. Real trust has to grow from deep inside, from knowing that I am right here with you, even when nothing seems to change. I do not guide you through chaos. I lead you with a gentle breath of love, like a soft breeze brushing across the water, never making a wave. I put my quiet hand over your mind to keep it from breaking when your thoughts start running wild. You cannot see me fighting off every inner battle, but you know you have survived things that by all rights should have completely broken you. That is where trust starts, not because you have answers, but because you know there was someone there to catch you. Trust is not a frame of mind you can force. It comes when you finally notice what I was doing for you when you had no idea. Think back to those sleepless nights just staring up at the ceiling in the dark. Every worry felt like an arrow targeting your flaws. You thought you would lose your mind. But then, without even realizing it, your breathing started to slow down. Your eyes closed, your mind finally let go, and you woke up safe the next morning. Not because the trouble went away, but because I held the broken pieces of your mind together. Since you did not know it was me, you assumed you were just being strong. But when you finally recognize my hand in it, your trust deepens right away. Trust lights up like a candle in a dark room. It is not loud or flashy, but it keeps you from stumbling in fear. I will keep feeding that fire through quiet moments. A kind conversation, a quiet reminder, or a peace that arrives without any real reason. You might call it luck, but it is my answer to you, not with flashy miracles, but with quiet whispers that only a listening heart can hear. My child, I do not build trust overnight. I build it through rhythm. There will be seasons when you want everything to change instantly. You want the heavens to part, the road to clear, and my voice to thunder. But growing in faith is not a storm, it is a sunrise. Nobody notices the exact second the light breaks. They just look up and see the darkness is finally fading away. I guide you through quiet seasons where every day feels exactly like the last, to show you that strength comes from steady daily trust, not dramatic breakthroughs. I do not lift you up with a sudden whirlwind. I simply place a gentle hand on your back every morning, nudging you to take just one more step. That is how I prepare your heart, not with sudden shocks that leave you gasping, but with the quiet strength to breathe through the trial. Once you learn to breathe through the hard times, you will not need constant miracles to trust me. Simply surviving each day will become your proof. Real trust begins when you stop treating me as a last resort for your problems and start seeing me as the heartbeat of your daily life. You do not have to conquer every worry to trust me. Just know you are not fighting this battle alone. I do not expect you to silence all the noise in your mind. I only ask that you let me step inside. Where you think you must be strong, let me teach you to soften. When you feel like you need all the answers, I offer you a single whisper: remain in me. And once you choose to rest in me, not with intense feelings, but through a quiet decision, a choice to return even on ordinary days, that is when real change begins. You realize you do not need proof, external guarantees, or to compare your path to anyone else. Trust stops being about convenience. Instead, it becomes the steady, natural breathing of your soul. Like a traveler who trusts the dark path by watching the ground below, you will learn to step forward without demanding a sign from heaven. Ultimately, this deep trust does not make you foolish or delusional. Actually, it leaves you more grounded and steady than ever. You know hardships will come. There will be dry seasons and heavy closed doors. Some questions will remain unanswered. Yet instead of panicking when they do, you will take a breath. Remember how I caught you every time you fell and whisper, you are still here. This trust is not about giving up. It is knowing deep down that I have proven my love in my own way. I do not have to rewrite the laws of nature just to show you my love. I only need to hold your soul together day after quiet day. Once you realize this, fear loses its grip and even the darkest path ahead of you becomes clear. In that moment, I look at your spirit and see you have grown one step closer. You no longer just feel my presence, you truly trust me. Sometimes you think surrender simply means giving up, throwing in the towel because you have absolutely no strength left to keep going. But my child, true surrender is not bowing to this world. It is opening the door so I can step into those spaces you are desperately trying to control yourself. I am not asking you to be passive. I am calling you to a place where you do not have to fight to keep everything upright. You have carried heavy burdens that were never yours to bear, trying to save every fragile relationship, every single opportunity just to prove to the world that you were strong enough, good enough, and ultimately worthy. Every time something slipped away from you, you hurt not just from the loss, but from thinking if I had only tried harder, it would not have broken. But surrender never tells you that you failed. Instead, it whispers, this was never yours to carry. You are not stepping away because you are weak. You are shifting to a new place where the heavy lifting is no longer up to you alone. This is true maturity, not because you have fewer answers, but because you finally trust the one holding you. My child, I know how much your heart aches when you must let go of things you have held so tightly. You worry that if you let go of control, everything will fall apart. If you do not plan for worst-case scenarios, disaster will strike. If you do not monitor every single emotion and step, you believe you will get hurt again. But you do not realize this constant clinging is like a vine strangling a tree. It does not guard you, it slowly suffocates you. I am not here to tear away what you love. I came to lift the heavy weight of believing you must carry it all yourself. Letting go is not being irresponsible. It is an act of deep wisdom. You finally recognize your limits and you see where I have none. When you place a broken relationship in my care, it is not because you are quitting on it, but because you know my love is far greater than all your worry. When you place your future plans in my hands, it is not that you stop dreaming, but that you trust my paths go far beyond your sight. Surrender never stops your actions. Instead, it realigns the spiritual place your actions flow from. You still walk. You still work and you still think, but no longer out of restless exhaustion. You do it in peace. That peace does not come from having total certainty, but because you finally know I am right here. When you tell me you do not understand the road but choose to follow anyway, your soul does not grow weak. It is being anchored in the very center of strength. True power does not come from knowing the whole future. It comes from knowing the one who goes before you. When you let go, you do not lose control. You hand it over to the one who holds what you cannot see. Hear me clearly on this. Surrendering is the mark of a spiritually mature heart. A child panics when they cannot see the light, but a mature soul knows that even in the dark my hand holds them strong enough to lift yet gentle enough not to crush. You do not have to prove you are smart enough to survive on your own. I did not put you here to face life alone like you are taking some brutal exam. I put you here to learn how to live in relationship with me. This is not a fragile dependency, but a partnership between the one who leads and the soul being led. If you keep holding every decision with a clenched fist, I cannot lead you far. Not because I lack the power, but because I respect your free will. You must be the one to open your hands first. I step into the space you surrender, not into the cages you lock from the inside. Letting go does not mean sitting back and expecting me to do everything. It is like planting a seed in the ground. You do not just lay there, you still water it. You still nurture it, but you stop trying to force it to bloom on your own. You do your part, and then you step back and let me do what only I can. Every time you rip at the branches or try to force buds open or bend the flower to your design, you kill what you hoped for. But when you let me bring the rain and sun and allow for time, the blossom will open, showing you that surrender never takes away from you. It shields you from needless wounds. Once you begin to live this way, your soul will not fall into panic when things fail to go your way. Because you know my will never ruins you, only your own stubbornness can do that. One day, after you let go of what you can no longer hold, a deep, unfamiliar stillness will rise up within you. This is not the heavy silence of burnout or defeat, but a quiet backed by warmth, strength, and a heartbeat. That is when your soul finds rest, not because life is suddenly perfect, but because you stop trying to fix everything yourself. You stop trying to predict the future or playing out 1,000 bad scenarios just to protect yourself. Like a cool breeze on parched ground, this rest does not wash away the desert overnight, but it completely changes the climate of your heart. You will start to breathe in a steady rhythm instead of the shallow pace of panic. You will speak less, not from emptiness, but because you realize you do not need to explain away every misunderstanding. Not every closed door needs a knock, and not every internal noise needs an answer. True rest does not come from having all the answers. It comes from knowing I hold the very questions you are not strong enough to carry. My child, many think rest is a reward after the battle, but spiritually rest is where maturity actually begins. If you only treat rest as a brief pause between storms, you will live in constant survival mode, always scanning for warning signs. But I am not asking you to live always braced for the next blow. I am inviting you to live ready to trust. Rest is not a defensive shield. It is the natural fruit of knowing you belong to me. When you sit in an empty room with no one watching your back and no one cheering you on, nobody proving your worth, and yet you are still perfectly at peace, that is true rest. When you face a sharp criticism or a painful misunderstanding, yet your heart does not flare up in anger or collapse in shame, that is rest. When you endure a long day with no breakthrough, yet you no longer assume I have abandoned you, that is rest. It is a quiet spiritual maturity the world misses, but heaven sees clear as day. Rest does not eliminate your responsibilities. It refocuses them. You still have to work, still have to make choices, still have to love, and still have to face those who just do not understand you. But instead of doing this while carrying the heavy strain of fearing failure, you walk in freedom, knowing that I do not define your worth by today's results. You used to see every mistake as a direct strike against your value. Now you see them as simple reminders that you are growing, learning, and still need my hand. You once needed a win to feel valued. Now you know your worth even before the breakthrough arrives. A soul that is resting does not wait for the storm to pass before it can breathe. It finds its breath right in the middle of the waves, knowing I still rule the sea. I do not have to quiet the wild waters instantly to bring you comfort. Just sitting beside you in the boat is more than enough to keep you afloat. There are days when you feel your heart has no strength left to love even one more soul, to try just one more time, to start completely over, and you believe you have hit your absolute limit. But I see things differently. I call this the doorway to rest. Because only when you go past your own strength can you stop building your life on fear and start building it on trust. Rest does not make you cold. It makes you gentle. It does not run from the world. It shows you how to stand firm inside it. You no longer close off your heart to avoid pain, nor do you desperately fling it open just to avoid missing out. You open it because you know that I can heal every deep wound and shut any door that is not meant for you. In that space, love is no longer a strategy for defense or attack. It simply flows naturally from a soul that has finally found its way back to rest. Ultimately, you will realize a profound truth. True rest does not mean the storm has stopped. but that you are no longer living inside it. The storm might still blow through your life, but it only passes through. It is no longer the foundation of who you are. You stand firm in reality. You do your part, but your heart is no longer built upon lack, fear, or comparison. You walk in a fresh rhythm of life where everything hinges on one simple, powerful question: am I in you? And if the answer is yes, then no matter if today is smooth or rough, bright or dark, my quiet presence is enough to keep you standing. You do not need to shake the heavens to prove it. Your heart already knows. Once your soul learns to rest in me, the sudden shakeups you used to see as threats begin to take on a whole new meaning. Not because they suddenly feel good, but because you no longer view them through the lens of fear. Before, when hardships hit, you ran to me in a panic, desperate for me to put out the fire right away. But my child, a soul that knows how to rest, meets trials with a quiet, gentle peace. It no longer begs, when will this end? Instead, it asks, what are you teaching me in this rhythm? Hardships stop looking like proof of abandonment. Instead, they become springboards for your spirit to discover the deep strength of my love inside you. You do not need to have all the answers right now to stand strong. Stepping forward into the unknown without seeing where the path ends is a profound declaration of your faith. I do not expect you to predict what lies ahead. I only ask you to trust that I have already prepared your way. Once you truly believe this, no storm will ever have the power to shake your identity. My child, I know how much you used to worry whenever things got delayed. You felt like every delay was a personal rejection, as if a closed door meant you were not enough. You used to weep over the dreams that I held back, silently questioning my timing and arguing with me, asking why must I wait if I am ready. But my child, a quiet soul learns to see things with a far deeper wisdom. I never make you wait to cause you pain. I delay blessings so they will not become a burden that crushes you. Some blessings, if handed to you before their proper season, will only end up hurting you. There are relationships that will completely drain your soul if they arrive before you are ready. And there are open doors that will cause you to lose yourself if you cannot yet stand firm. I love you far too much to give you good gifts at the wrong time. When you finally see the love hidden inside the waiting, your heart will stop fighting. The confusion will fade, replaced by a quiet peace, knowing I am protecting you from unseen dangers. You might wonder why others seem to move ahead faster, why they succeed so quickly while you are still waiting. Early in your spiritual journey, you asked me these same questions. But as you learned to rest in me, those worries slowly dissolved. Not because your dreams died, but because you realized that life is simply not a race, and blessings are not trophies for whoever finishes first. Every soul moves to its own unique rhythm, carries a different purpose, and is shaped in ways others cannot see. Some people walk through massive doors, but their character is paper thin, and the mildest breeze is enough to blow them away. Others are shaped in quiet, hidden places for years, growing deep roots so that when they finally stand tall, no storm can shake them. I want you to have that same strength. I want you to be exactly who I created you to be. Once you stop comparing yourself, I can teach you to walk in my perfect rhythm. A mature soul looks at past disappointments with completely different eyes. You will realize that not every loss is a robbery. Some losses teach you. Not every closed door is a punishment. Sometimes it is simply protection. I have closed paths off not to hold you back, but to stop you from running down tempting but dangerous dead ends. I led you down quiet, empty roads, not because I did not have good things to offer, but because I was building your character so you could handle those blessings without breaking. You used to think I was distant during your pain, but now you see that I was right there with you, making sure that suffering did not destroy your soul. My miracles are not meant to remove your trials, but to keep you whole and unbroken through them. And when you eventually look back at the difficult road you have traveled, the painful questions that kept you awake will finally become your testimony. You will see that what felt like a delay was actually perfect timing. What looked like a failure was actually direction. What you mistook for silence was actually my shelter. I will no longer have to speak in thunder for you to hear me. A soft, gentle breeze will be all you need to know that I am walking right beside you. This is the mark of a mature soul. It no longer demands spectacular signs in order to believe, because the simple experience of walking by my side has become your unshakable foundation. Standing on that truth, you will stop asking when your desires will arrive. Instead, you will ask, am I ready to protect the gifts you want to give me? When you begin to pray like that, I know you are no longer a child just begging for treats, but a true heir ready to receive their inheritance in deep peace. You once thought trials existed only to wear you down like endless waves beating against a fragile shore. You asked me why I allowed this pain. Why one wound just piled on top of another? Why those you trusted walked away right when you needed them most? But my child, a growing soul soon discovers a deeper truth. Hardships do not come to strip away your value. They come to reveal the worth that was always inside you. Gold cannot be purified without fire. The dawn cannot break without the night. Without quiet, my voice cannot echo so deeply. Before every wave of pain made you shrink back in fear. But now that rest has taken root inside you, suffering becomes a new language I used to speak. I speak to you through the quiet spaces, through those heavy steps you still dared to take, through all the times you wept but did not break, through the hard seasons when you felt abandoned while I was actually building your faith. My dear child, I know those old scars still make you shake. Every time you hurt, painful memories rush back like waves pulling you down to where you once fell. You worry you will fail again. You fear that opening your heart means setting yourself up to lose. But hear me now, trials do not return to your ruined places just to mock you. They return to prove how much you have changed. A soul driven by fear will run from the slightest hint of pain. But a soul that has found rest stands firm and asks, "What do you want to teach me this time?" You will see that some wounds have already been named. Some memories have already been gently touched. Many fears lose their power when my light shines on them. Not because you got stronger on your own, but because you finally stopped trying to carry it alone. In my hands, hardships are not a life sentence. They are a classroom. When you abide in me, pain is no longer a blade that cuts. It becomes a plow. A sword only knows how to destroy, but a plow knows how to open the ground. The difference is where you are anchored. Outside of my arms, every blow leaves a deep wound. But when you rest in me, those painful moments become deep furrows where new seeds can fall. The seeds I planted deep inside you, compassion and perseverance. And spiritual awareness can never grow unless you walk through soil that has been turned over. It is right where you hurt that the soil of your soul is stretched and opened up, watered so that in a season hidden from the world, fresh green shoots will rise. The world views pain as failure, but I see it as a beginning. They call tears a weakness, but I see them as rivers washing dust from your soul, helping you see clearly again. When you learn to see your trials through my eyes, you will stop asking why and softly say, "Show me your purpose in this." There are seasons when I make you wait, not to make you suffer, but to help you discover your true depth. When everything comes easily, you only ever need a shallow kind of faith. A simple faith that only hopes for convenience. But when everything happens slowly, bit by bit, step by step, you are forced to dig a deeper well. A deep well of patience, a well of complete trust, a well of spiritual awareness. This long delay forces you to see things you never noticed before. Old habits that no longer fit. Thoughts you once believed were right but were really just defensive reflexes of fear. Desires that seemed pure but secretly hid a deep hunger to be noticed. I make you wait not because I want you to suffer, but to help you see your own soul clearly. To show you what must be left behind before I hand you what you are asking for. When you mature in this waiting, you learn how to receive my blessing without losing yourself. Then, on a very ordinary morning, you will suddenly realize what this trial has built inside you. Not because your circumstances are suddenly perfect, but because you no longer see life with those old eyes. You just become quieter inside. No longer tortured by slow progress, no longer panicked by every shift. You start to find me not just when life is easy, but when obstacles block your path. You feel my grace in my answers and also in my quiet. Not just in the ones who stay, but in those who walk away. Not just when prayers are answered, but when promises are still waiting. You no longer beg me to rescue you from this spiritual trial. Instead, you ask me to build your faith so you can stand strong here, never feeling truly alone. That is the mark of a deeply transformed heart. You are no longer running away from pain. You want to understand my divine purpose instead. There are times during hardship when you simply have no words left to pray. Your spirit is exhausted. Your mind is weary. Your soul does not know where to turn. You stop asking questions and stop blaming me. You just stay still like a fragile branch bending in a heavy wind. That, my child, is exactly where I step in. Not when you still have the energy to fight me. Not when you are still trying to overanalyze what is right and wrong. But right at the limit of your strength, when your voice is gone and only quiet remains inside. Most people think that silence means you failed or collapsed. They think it is proof of weak faith. But I tell you, this empty space is rich, fertile soil. You cannot plant seeds in hard, dry dirt. A farmer only plants in ground that has been broken open. When you break down, it is not the finish line. It is just the stripping away of the old, letting go of the thoughts that defined you, and freeing you from the heavy burdens you carried, relieving the pressure to act tough and match what the world expects. I am not breaking your heart to destroy you. I am breaking it open for healing. My beloved child, you believe you are failing when you cannot fight the pain anymore, when all you can manage is a heavy, tired breath. When you cannot even explain why you are suddenly crying again. But being weary does not mean you are losing. It just means you have finally stopped pretending. A heart that fakes its strength cannot receive true healing, because it refuses to let me close enough to touch it. But a soul that admits its fear opens the door wide for me to walk in. You do not need fancy words or loud prayers for me to listen to you. I do not need you to stand strong just to get my attention. When you fall, I do not watch from a distance. I reach down. I am not waiting for you to recover so you can stand up all by yourself. I gather the broken pieces from your hands and rebuild what you thought was gone forever. You do not have to explain your exhaustion to me. I knew you were tired long before you admitted it to yourself. Others will look at your struggles and call them a curse. They will say you are trapped in bad luck. They will whisper that you lack God's blessing or that you did something wrong and I am punishing you. They do not realize that I do not use anger to guide your path. I use gentle light. I do not throw stones to correct your spirit. I use time. Those who only look at the surface miss what I am doing deep inside you. They look at your quietness and think you have quit. I see your silence and know you are being reshaped. They watch you cry and assume you are weak. I see those tears and know you are brave enough to show your pain. When they see you rest, they call it laziness. I look at your rest and know you are learning to sit in my presence instead of running to the world for a quick distraction. During hard times, you do not need approval. You just need to see yourself through my eyes that never judge you by how fast you move. I do not compare you to anyone else, and I never use an easy life to measure your worth. I know there are nights when you sleep, but find no rest. Your mind keeps racing through dark hallways, reliving one painful memory after another. Endless mistakes, endless questions with no answers. You begin to believe I am totally silent. You think I am far away just watching you struggle alone. But I am right here in the quiet space between your heartbeats. I am there in each shallow breath when you fear a deep inhale might shatter you completely. I do not watch your trials from a distance. I step right into the fire with you. I do not wait for you to survive the storm just to hand you a prize. I give you strength to stand right in the middle of it. When you think you are steering all on your own, my hand is on yours, keeping you from veering off. When you think you are barely hanging, when I am lifting your soul through deep places that human eyes can never trace. What the world calls enduring, I call spiritual growth. What they call surviving, I call being empowered. When they see you as empty, I see open soil ready for my new seeds. And then one day, you will see that this trial did not come to break you, but to free you from the person you no longer need to be. You used to think you had to be strong to deserve love, flawless to be kept, and constantly working to be worthy. But when you are exhausted, those masks crumble, leaving you standing before me with no defenses. Right then you realize I never loved the version of you that tried so hard to perform. I love the real you that you cannot hide. I love your actual soul, not the shield you built to survive. When you survive this trial, you are not just a winner, you'll become authentic. And a truly authentic soul holds deep strength without ever needing to prove it to anyone. It stands tall not because the wind stopped blowing, but because its roots are buried deep in my love. It embraces peace, not because the storm is gone, but because the storm can never reach the place where I hold you close. There comes a moment in your spiritual walk where you stop measuring strength by how well you avoid pain, but by how you stand in that pain and still keep your peace. The world tells you to run, to fight back and build high walls for protection, but I teach you a better way. True peace is not about controlling what happens. It comes from letting me hold your soul. You used to think that my love meant I would stop every wave, save you from every mistake, and throw open every door. But child, if I blocked every difficult trial, your soul would never learn to find me when the cold wind blows. I do not want you to only praise me when the skies above are clear and bright. I want you to have a heart that feels my presence even when the storm is roaring. When others look at your pain and call it defeat, I see your heart standing strong in my presence and call it a victory. Not because you conquered every single obstacle, but because you no longer believe that suffering means I have abandoned you. My dear child, my peace is not like the peace of this world. Worldly peace is just a passing feeling, but my peace is a solid rock. Feelings change with the weather, but a foundation holds firm even in a downpour. That is why I gently guide you back inside to the quiet place where you feel me, in every single breath, silence, and heartbeat. When you are exhausted, I do not tell you to try harder. I just invite you to lean on me. When you are lost, I never blame you for losing your way. I put my own hand beneath your feet so you do not stumble. When your prayers go unanswered and disappointment sets in, I will not force you out of that heavy silence. I let you rest there, but I plant my peace deep in your chest like a quiet spark that can never be put out. My peace is not a massive wildfire meant to show off to the world. It is a small candle in a hidden room shining light on the dark corners you fear to face. You used to think I was only there when you felt goosebumps, when your heart was deeply stirred, when tears streamed down your face during worship, or when life went exactly according to your plans. That was when you felt my presence close. But tell me, what about those dry mornings when you feel absolutely nothing? Or the quiet nights when praying feels like empty air? Ever feel like a weary traveler wandering through a dry desert, still holding on, remaining steady without seeing a single sign? Those moments are the ultimate proof that you are walking in the deep peace I provide. If peace were just a feeling, you would have walked away long ago. If peace depended on external signs, you would have broken down when doors closed. But my peace is a quiet, invisible strength. It keeps you standing when you do not even know why. It helps you breathe when you feel completely empty and keeps you moving when every reason to move forward is gone. Many people assume I love them less when I do not provide an instant escape from their trials. But my child, when I do not rescue you with an outward miracle, I am actually protecting you from a far greater danger, deep internal panic. You do not realize that the hardship itself is not breaking you, but rather the fear that I am not with you. That is why I always start from deep within. I hold your breath when you feel like you are suffocating, and I cradle your heart when you think it will break. I protect your mind from sliding into the darkness. I strengthen your soul before I ever change your situation. I do not prove my love with loud thunder. My love is proven through a quiet presence, like an unseen underground stream that feeds a whole forest. One day you will look back and realize that what kept you going was not your own willpower, nor the strong face you put on for others, but the quiet grace I poured beneath every heavy layer of your exhaustion. You will see that I was right there in the dark places where you felt completely alone. I stood close behind you when you were trembling. I sat right beside you in your silence. I walked with you down those lonely roads, and you will finally see that peace is never a reward for being strong. True peace is a free gift for those humble enough to admit, I cannot stand on my own. Lord, hold me up. When you speak those words, you are not showing weakness. You are revealing truth. And that truth always sets you free. In certain seasons, you look at your trials and see only obstacles, but I look at those exact hardships and see the place where your soul will finally take root. This world teaches you that strength means rushing through the storm as fast as you can. But I want you to learn a deeper truth. Roots never grow when the sky is completely calm. Roots grow deep when the soil is broken, when darkness blankets the ground, and when your eyes cannot see past the next step. You do not realize that during the times you call a delay, your soul is actually growing deeper roots in my presence. Nobody applauds the quiet season of growth. People only notice when the branches and leaves stretch toward the sky. But my beloved child, every lasting life begins where human eyes cannot see. I leave some questions unanswered, not because I want to wear you out, but because I am building a solid foundation beneath you. A foundation strong enough to hold you when the blessings arrive, so the praise of others cannot shake you. My child, you often expect my presence to be a booming voice or a dramatic miracle. But I do not rush into your soul like a crashing wave. I come like gentle water soaking dry ground. Water does not shatter the earth, it softens it. I never force your soul to break just to change your direction. I move silently through the cracks you do not even see. You assume I am silent when you hurt, but that stillness is the exact environment I use to refine your thoughts. It allows you to hear the real questions. Are you relying on your own success or on me? Are you seeking comfort in praise or in my unseen presence? Are you living only to impress other people or to protect the sacred soul I gave you? I do not ask these things to condemn you. I ask so you can find your way back home. And every single time you stop and listen, your roots dig just a little deeper. Not into fear, but deep into my word. Once your roots touch the living water, the tree will not shake when the wind blows. Others will ask how you can be so peaceful before your trial has even ended. How you stand strong when nothing seems to change. Why you stay calm while everyone else panics. They don't understand that you aren't held by your circumstances, but by a truth buried deep in your soul. I am not far off. I don't show up like a lifeguard who only jumps in when you're drowning. I come like a quiet whisper, keeping you alive through the darkest nights. You'll see that my silent presence builds the foundation, teaching your soul peace before the miracle even happens. To trust me before you see the path. To stand strong before you're lifted up. Suddenly having faith isn't a struggle anymore, it simply becomes your natural spiritual instinct. Sometimes I'll let you face the very things that once broke you, not to test the limits of your strength, but so you can see the transformation that has quietly taken place deep inside you. You'll realize it is the same old pain, but this time you don't feel like running away. This time you ask me what to do. The silence is the same, but you don't feel abandoned anymore. You know I'm building something beautiful inside. The delay is the same, but you aren't rushing to force an outcome. You sit patiently like a student learning from a teacher. In those moments, I don't have to show my love through flashy miracles. I prove my love through the deep peace that has now become your second nature, through an inner strength that refuses to break, through eyes that have finally learned to see me in the smallest details. By then, my child, hard times won't feel like enemies anymore. They'll become open doors. You won't see the cracks in your life as curses, but as spaces where my light shines through. You won't beg me to rescue you right away, because you will see that the greatest rescue isn't about changing your circumstances, but transforming your entire soul. Your roots will continue to grow deeper into my presence, and when the blessings arrive, just as I promised, they won't overwhelm you. They won't confuse you, and they won't pull you away from your true source of peace. Because blessings are meant for those who have learned to stand strong in my love, even when nothing around them has changed yet. This is how I help you grow, not with dramatic bursts, but through the quiet, steady power of love. There comes a time in your spiritual walk when you realize your strength doesn't come from how much longer you can hold on, but from where you stand. So many people tremble in the middle of hard times because they stand on the shaky ground of their emotions, relying on outcomes, praise, and public opinion. But my child, once your roots grow deep into my presence, you won't stand on that ground anymore. You stand on me. When I'm your foundation, the wind can't take anything from you. It only reveals what is anchored. The spotlight won't change you. It simply reveals where you get your strength. Hard times won't destroy you. They only uncover the life I placed inside you from the very beginning. The things that once scared you, the silence, the delays, and the unknowns, now become an invitation to rest in me. When your soul hears that call, it doesn't just stand firm because everything is going well, but because I am your safe place. My child, my quiet presence does so much more than keep you from falling. It guides you deeper into the true self I created. You have grown so used to living like you must prove you are worthy of love by being strong, kind, resilient, and always enduring. But when you rest in me, those traits aren't just ways to get approval anymore. They become the natural fruit of a soul that is deeply loved. Your gentleness isn't just to make others feel safe around you. It becomes the tool I use to heal people who are too afraid to show their own wounds. Your patience is no longer just quiet endurance, but a guiding light for those who panic and think my faithfulness has failed. Your resilience is no longer a show to prove you've grown, but the natural heartbeat of a soul that knows I am right here. When you reach that place, you won't need validation from other people anymore. My presence within you is your validation. Do not mistake my silence for absence. Those days when you are just trying to survive are actually the seasons when I am preparing you for what is next. I don't need you to see the whole picture. Just trust that every tiny step you take is held in my hand. Sometimes I delay the outward changes because I know the real shift needs to happen inside your own heart. I do not want you to trust me only when times are good. Learn to find me on a gray morning, during a chaotic workday, and in the quiet nights when you cannot find the words for what you feel. Once you recognize me in the little things, the big storms will no longer terrify you. Once your heart becomes familiar with those quiet, hidden streams of peace, the wild waves outside will never sweep you away. Soon you will be amazed to see that you do not react to trials the way you used to. Harsh words will not crush you because other people do not define your worth. Being misunderstood won't make you doubt yourself because you know, I see every hidden struggle that nobody else notices. Seeing others succeed will no longer make you worry that you are falling behind, since your destiny does not share a timetable with theirs. In that moment, you are not just pretending to be tough, you actually become strong. Not because you grew cold, but because you surrendered to me. A gentle heart is one that cannot be broken. It can bend, adapt, heal, and ultimately endure. My child, I am not teaching you how to run from the storms. I am shaping you to be someone who simply does not fear them. I am not training you to panic and cry for help whenever the wind rises. I am showing you how to look inside to the quiet space where I live, where no storm can touch you. With that strength, you will step into your divine purpose quietly, without needing a stage, a spotlight, or a loud voice. You just take it one step at a time, offering one quiet decision after another, showing grace to those who have lost their way. In that space, I will use you not as a blinding glare that hurts, but as a warm light guiding lost souls home. My quiet work in your life becomes a beacon, not to impress the crowds, but to help those who are used to walking in darkness. Some callings do not begin with a blast of trumpets or earth-shaking events, and they do not demand that the entire world stop and look. Your holy purpose, my precious child, won't arrive like a roaring fire. It comes like morning light slipping through a doorway, slow, soft and steady, giving your eyes time to adjust before the midday heat arrives. Many think I am only leading when miracles happen, when doors swing wide or dreams suddenly come true. But I tell you, a lasting spiritual destiny is not born in loud moments. It grows in quiet seasons known only to us, like a seed buried deep in the earth, praised by nobody, unseen by any eye, quietly drawing life from the dark soil. The rain and passing time, your calling quietly grows, waiting to break through the surface. When it finally blooms, others will think it happened overnight. But I know it has been growing for years. My beloved child, I do not hand great callings to hearts still living in panic. I do not place my purpose in people searching for applause, nor do I open doors for those trying to prove themselves. Your true destiny can only walk with you if you have learned to abide in me, even when there are no signs to follow. You think I am building opportunities for you, but I am actually building you. You think I am delaying, but I am making sure that when you touch what I promised, you won't lean on it as a lifeline or a way to prove your worth. You will see it as a path to share the love I bent down to plant in you. Your destiny is not about being superior or outshining those around you. It is born from a quiet humility, from a heart that has learned to wait on me, even when everything else fades. Many souls make a huge mistake by assuming that destiny is just a mountain peak waiting to be conquered. They think they must rush the climb, reach the top, and show the world proof of what they can do. But destiny isn't a scenic viewpoint where you pose for the world. It is a long road I invite you to travel, where every single step has a purpose, where every mile speaks, and whenever you are weary, my strength is right there to carry you. You were not made to sprint to the summit. You were created to walk in my rhythm. The world pressures you to run, but I am teaching you to walk steadily. The world urges you to flash brightly. I teach you to endure. I know sudden peaks can blind your eyes, but only the quiet journeys will bind you to me forever. Destiny does not arrive when you say I am ready. It comes when your soul whispers, please lead me. Not in the bold speeches you practiced in front of a mirror, but in the quiet sigh after a long season of pain when you still refuse to walk away from me. You think loyalty must show itself in grand gestures, but I find it in the quiet moments when you choose forgiveness instead of revenge. The moment you choose silence over an argument. The moment you choose to pray instead of venting your anger. The moment you take another step even when you see no light ahead. Those hidden choices are the stones paving the path of your destiny. No one writes about them, no one applauds, but I carve your name on every single one. And when the day comes to walk that path, your inner strength won't come from human praise, but from knowing that I have been right beside you through every single step. When I lead you into your destiny, I won't push you into the spotlight to show off your light. Instead, I place you in meetings that feel ordinary. You won't even know why you happened to sit next to that specific person on that day, or why a simple phrase you spoke had such power. Why you stayed patient when you used to just turn around and walk away. Yet those exact moments are where your journey meets my plans and where I begin to reach the lives of others through you. Destiny isn't just about who you become. It is also about who gets healed just by crossing paths with you. You don't have to be famous to be used. Just stand firm in the quiet peace I have given you. I will handle the rest like water soaking into the ground, like morning light spilling through a window, like a seed gently cracking its shell. No force, just a steady, quiet strength growing from the inside out. There are paths I open that have no special signs, no bright spotlight shining down, no sudden wind shift, no applause or approval from the people around you. You step through them as if crossing a normal doorway, thinking it is just another boring day, like all the rest. But it is those tiny steps, so quiet and simple, where your destiny actually begins. I don't use lightning bolts to announce your purpose. I use quiet, unexpected meetings, a gentle talk, a small moment that makes you pause and think. A great destiny isn't placed on your head like a gold crown. It is carved into your soul by simply walking with me daily, even when you can't see the road ahead. The world calls it coincidence. I call it preparation. And only the hearts that have stopped rushing can actually see it. My dear child, I don't paint a masterpiece with just one brushstroke. I create it with endless fine details, layer after layer, shadows blending into light until the whole picture appears without any single part needing to boast. Your life's purpose is built the same way. The little things you think do not matter, a kind word to a stranger, patience in a quiet moment, or choosing peace over anger. These are the bright sparks I stitch into your daily life, creating a beautiful pattern of my grace. So many search for massive breakthroughs to change their world. You might feel like you are failing just because nothing has exploded yet. But I watch the tiny details that others ignore. Those are the stepping stones on this path that only my closest followers will ever see. Some people rush ahead just to prove they have made it. But you are learning to walk in step with me day by day, without needing a perfect plan or knowing the future. Your divine purpose does not call out with a shout. It draws you with a gentle nudge. It is found in the peace of doing what is right even in secret, and in having patience that does not demand instant results. Living like this sends out a quiet wave. I use that deep wave to reach broken hearts looking for shelter. You have no idea how much your everyday life speaks to others. People do not always remember the words you speak, but they feel the peace in your soul. They remember your quiet kindness, the way you stood strong through the storms they thought would tear you apart. And then all those quiet moments suddenly begin to come together. You will look back and realize every random meeting was actually a step in my master plan for your life. That friend you helped when you were tired will be the one who opens your next door. Your calm attitude during a stressful hour will lead straight to a breakthrough you never expected. A few kind words shared in passing will ring in someone's heart and grow into something beautiful years later. You do not have to calculate everything. I only want you to walk with me. When you do, your destiny does not arrive with a loud rush, but like a quiet river carving deep channels in hidden places, then suddenly opening up a doorway where you only saw a solid wall. My child, here is a secret known only to those who rest in my presence. Your destiny is not a single spark, but a slow buildup. It is a lifetime of faithfulness in small moments. It is staying humble when words are hard, It is choosing love when you could easily stay bitter. It is trusting me when you want to quit. Every single time you choose to walk with me instead of giving in to worry. Every time you choose quiet peace instead of hitting back. Every time you lead with love instead of putting up walls. A quiet strength is woven into your heart. And when the time is right, it is not just about arriving. The door opens because you have grown into someone who is ready to step through. Your true calling is not triggered by a loud noise. It opens for the heart that has learned to walk quietly. There is a big misunderstanding that many people still believe. They think their calling is a stage for showing off power, a place to prove talent, a spotlight for their own skills. But my child, your purpose is not a show. It is simply showing what I have been quietly building inside you. I do not guide you to success just so you can show off. I bring you there so your life can point others back to me. Your future is not built in a flash, but by staying faithful when nobody is watching you. I do not need you to be a giant hero. I only ask you to be faithful. People who only wait for big signs will never get it. But those who have walked in silence, who have taken shaky steps holding tightly to my hand, they know their calling comes like a gentle tide washing over the sand, after the tired heart has finally stopped fighting. My dear child, you used to think I would hand you your calling once you grew strong, once you felt worthy, or when you had fixed every flaw. But my blessings are not for the self-reliant. I give my promise to those who know how to rest in my love. I do not want your power, just your trust. Not the skills you struggle to build, but the absolute surrender of saying, if you do not hold me up, I will fall. When you can say those words from deep rest instead of fear, that is when the door of your destiny begins to swing open. Others looking in will think you just got lucky. They will think your big moment has finally arrived. But they do not see that success is not the start. It is the harvest of 1,000 quiet, faithful steps in your life. I do not bless you out of nowhere. I only finish what I have long been nurturing. Some people step into their calling too soon. They panic under the bright lights, collapsing under the heavy weight of expectations. They fight to keep up an image that their soul does not have the depth to support. This is why I do not give you your divine purpose while you are still driven by impulse. I wait until you learn to love the quiet hours. I wait until you stop comparing your path to everyone else's. I wait until you no longer crave the crowd's applause. When you stop seeking validation in results. When your heart can stand before me without demanding answers. When your open hands do not tremble to receive and you are no longer terrified of losing, you are finally ready to hold. Your true calling does not require speed, it demands depth. Shallow hearts only look for the blooming flowers, but deep souls know that roots are the most sacred part. Do you understand this, my child? I do not want you sprinting into your calling. I need you to walk with the steady stride of endurance. You do not need a massive platform or a stage. You do not need grand words or the spotlight of attention. I need you to keep the rhythm. Take a quiet step in secret and keep your peace when nobody understands. Be kind when no one thanks you. Guard your faith when there is no visible sign at all. These moments are not just prep work, they are your destiny. Because destiny is not a single event but a constant flow. It is not the day you are suddenly revealed, but the decade in which I called you in silence. It is not just the moment you are used, but every hidden season where I refined your character. When you begin to live like this, your destiny stops being a gift I hand you and becomes the very home you have already been woven into. Then one day you will look back and see that the door of purpose does not open with thunder, but with a quiet whisper, it is time. It is not a whisper from the outside world, but from deep inside where I already live. You will not need a signal, you will simply know. Not from excitement, but through perfect peace. Not with a tightly clenched fist, but with an open hand. Not by boasting, this is my big moment, but by whispering, please lead me. And when you step into it, you will not feel like you are escaping the dark. You will realize that the darkness was just the rich soil that nourished your roots. You do not enter this destiny like you are starting a new life. You enter as someone who has already lived it for years, even though the world could not see it yet. There is a subtle kind of chain not made of iron, one that makes absolutely no sound. Invisible to others, this fear of failure is worn by your soul like a second skin. It is not born from actual events, but from what you imagine might go wrong. Before you even take a step, that fear is already waiting, watching you breathe quietly, whispering, what if you stumble? What if you are simply not enough? What if they look at you and walk away? That heavy fear is why so many shrink back from my calling, not because they lack ability, but because they believe the world's judgment far more than my actual presence. But my child, when I lead you into your destiny, I do not break the outer door first. I break the chains inside your mind. I do not put you in the spotlight for the world to watch. I bring you to a place where you no longer tremble under their gaze. That freedom is not raw boldness, it is true rest. It is rest in knowing that your value never shifts when you fall and never vanishes in your silence. Your worth does not fade when you walk slowly, allowing me to lead. My beloved child, the fear of failing only controls you while you believe you must carry your own future. When you think you are the builder, you will always fear collapse. If you think you are the keeper, you will fear loss. When you think you control the outcome, you will always fear making a mistake. But when you realize your destiny is not in your own hands, but in mine, that fear of failure starts to melt away like morning mist. You stop fearing mistakes because you know I will guide your steps. You no longer fear delays because you know I do not judge you by speed. You stop fearing critical eyes knowing that I look much deeper than any human gaze. True spiritual freedom does not come from winning, but from when you stop fighting yourself. You pause, breathe, and realize that all your crooked steps, detours, and dark seasons never drove me away. Instead, they only brought me closer, just like someone who holds your hand when you can no longer stand. You thought I wanted you to be strong, but I never asked you to be someone who never shakes. I never wanted you made of stone. I want you soft before me. Softness is not weakness. It is the humble heart that bows and speaks truth. Saying you cannot do this alone, the world calls that failure, but I call it the real beginning. A soul relying on itself might succeed by worldly standards, but it will always fear being exposed and losing its position. Fear whispers, beware the day the miracles stop. But a soul trusting in me might stumble 1,000 times, yet it will rise 1,001 times. It rises not by willpower, but because I lift it. That is true freedom, not never falling, but never being crushed. Not because you are unbreakable, but because I keep your soul whole, even when your body is completely exhausted. Look a little closer. My child, so many times what you call failure is just an old coat torn away so your soul can breathe. Often what you call loss is my hand, steering you off a path that would drain you before you were ready to carry the blessing. You think you missed a great opportunity, but really I just saved you from a heavy burden. You think I removed someone from your life, but the truth is, I shut the door to stop you from sacrificing your worth for their approval. Fearing failure makes you look at life like someone constantly running away. True freedom lets you see the world through the eyes of someone who is being led. Once your soul rests in this trust, you will stop asking, what if I am wrong? Instead, you will start asking, what if you are teaching me? The words change. Your heart shifts and your entire life changes with it. A day will come when you walk into a room, do something completely ordinary, speak a simple word, and no longer feel like you are crashing into the world. You won't scan their eyes. You won't track their reactions or worry if you made a good impression. You will simply stand, breathe, and live. And right then you will realize that freedom is not about victory. True freedom is no longer being haunted by your failures. You used to tremble trying to protect an image, get it right the first time, and please everyone. But one day you will realize you do not need to prove you are worthy for me to use you. You have always been chosen simply because you belong to me. I do not use you because you are flawless, but because you are soft before me. I am not asking you to convince the world, I only ask that you believe me. There are setbacks you once thought were the absolute final blow. Proof that you just were not enough. The death of a dream that used to set your heart on fire. You saw them like cracks in the sky, believing you were the only broken one, the loser left behind in the dark. But my child, I do not see failure the way the world does. The world measures failure by the outcome. I measure it by how you return to me. Failing does not mean you are weak. It just shows you tried. Falling short does not make you useless. It means you are still learning. When you fall, it does not mean I have left you. It means I am drawing you closer to heal your deepest wounds. Do not force yourself to understand why right now. Just trust that I am right beside you through every single setback. My beloved child, like a potter working with soft clay, I do not wait until it is perfect. I press in. I turn you gently, smoothing out your rough edges. Sometimes I break the mold to start a beautiful new design, but I never throw you away for being broken. I only let go if you reject my touch. Hardship softens your heart, and that tender spirit is exactly what allows me to reshape your destiny. Your stiffness, trying so hard to shield yourself from hurt, and a pride so high you refuse to slip, these are what turn your soul to stone. I am not afraid of your broken moments. I only worry when you lock your heart away and block my touch. But when you fall and still find the courage to return, you are not just walking again. I am doing something fresh inside you. You think some failures are final judgments that you simply chose wrong. But so often failing is just a holy realignment. You just need a new perspective. I never put you on this path to race straight to the finish line. I set you on this journey so your spirit learns how to walk beside me. Sometimes I let you crash into a closed door that you felt absolute certainty was the right one. I do not want to shame you. I want you to see that even God's path can have blockades. Obstacles do not mean I am gone. These setbacks are where I tear out the deep, fearful lies rooted in your soul, those voices in your head telling you that one single mistake will destroy your whole life. But I would never build your future with such fragile thread. I anchor your life deep down, far deeper than human intellect, deeper than perfect plans or earthly reputation. You saw your mistakes as a test, but I see them as a holy anointing. I will never ask you, why did you not succeed? Instead, I ask, what did you learn? I do not ask, why are you not as good as others? I ask, did you listen to me? The world demands a reason to love you, but I only need a tiny crack to enter your heart. You did not realize that when you felt completely defeated, I was shielding you from winning too early. Triumphs that would make you proud, making you crave applause and forget the quiet whisper that used to guide your steps. You think your downfall is a demotion, but it is actually a landing straight into my loving arms. It is there you remember that every new rise begins with my hand holding you up. My child, once you see that falling short does not change who you are, you will never fear stepping where I call you. Knowing I can restore you from any deep pit, you will dare to try again. When you realize I never abandon you for stumbling, you will bravely step into the vast destiny I have built for you. A truly free spirit is not one that has never stumbled. It is a spirit that has fallen beside me, rested in my hands, and risen by my grace. Once you realize this, you stop begging for a sudden miracle to rescue you. You simply trust in my presence that never fades. This is the moment your setback stops being a life sentence. It becomes a fresh start. You are no longer just a victim of random accidents. You'll become a student of my grace, stepping forward with confidence that I am still waiting, still guiding and holding you close through every single trembling step. A day will come, my child, when you see that I never wanted a perfect path free of scars, but simply a heart that returns to me after every storm. You will realize true freedom is not about avoiding mistakes, but choosing to walk in my divine light even when you cannot see the road ahead. A mature soul stops asking the simple question, how do I avoid failure? Instead, it asks the deeper question, how do I stay close to you when I fail? When that question truly sinks into your heart, the miracle begins. You stop suffocating your spirit to avoid falling. You open up, letting me catch you whenever you stumble. You no longer dread that first step or fear the dark, unseen road ahead. You do not fear the unexpected turns because you know I am right there with you even when you lose your way, my child. When you know I still stand by you even after your 10th failure, the 50th or the 100th, your heart grows lighter. You stop using your past as heavy chains and use it as a compass. Your mistakes are no longer evidence used against you, but signs pointing to where I am shaping your soul. You used to fear what others thought when you stumbled. Now you only fear missing the quiet whisper of my voice while you are hurting. Failure is no longer working against you, but a divine tool I use to restore the identity this world has worn down. You realize that disappointment draws you closer to my heart than hurried success ever could. Your tears soften you more than praise. Pain teaches you how to bow your head when another soul needs a shoulder to lean on. Then, my child, comes the season where I teach you to walk without any guarantees. You will face a closed door, and instead of asking, what if I fail? You will ask, what if you are calling me? You will try things you never dared to try, not because you are stronger, but because fear has lost its grip on you. Walking this way means you are no longer gambling with your pride or reputation. You simply place your footstep directly into my hand, and in that surrender, true freedom finally blossoms. Freedom is not having proof that you will succeed. It is knowing that even when you are uncertain, my love remains completely unchanged. A free soul does not need certainty to walk toward the light. You walk because you know I am right there, even if the light has not yet reached your eyes, my child. Here is what I want you to understand even deeper. I never use failure to destroy your dreams. I use it to purify your heart. Back when you needed success to prove your worth, every stumble felt like a crushing blow. But when your goal is to serve me, every mistake becomes a window of grace. You finally start seeing the deeper truths I have always wanted to show you. That kindness is not failure, humility is not weakness, and quietness is never defeat. You learn to walk gently, releasing expectations that are not mine, and stop measuring your worth by the standards of this world. You no longer stress about getting everything perfect. You learn to be faithful in the smallest steps. That simple devotion is the foundation I will build upon. Soon a time will come when you look back on your failures not with bitterness, but with deep gratitude. You will see that without those broken paths, you would never have learned how to walk so close to me. You will realize it was never a matter of me showing up at the final second. I was there from the very start. Your soul was just too noisy to notice my presence. Once you step into true freedom, you no longer rely on past achievements to keep you going. My presence is enough. You no longer require human approval to keep moving forward. You are held by my unwavering love. There is no image to protect. You simply rest knowing I have never once looked away from you. And you will see that this freedom is not a reward for the perfect, but a gift for those who dare to trust me with trembling steps. There comes a moment in this journey, my child, when your spirit stops fearing failure and starts to truly live. Not living to prove yourself, but living to reflect my glory. What you once thought was influence, the loud applause, the praise, and those visible milestones, all of it melts away like mist. You realize those things never make your soul grow. They only feed your ego. Real impact isn't made under spotlights, it is quietly grown in the shade. It does not come from dramatic moments, but from quiet steps walking in rhythm with me. I do not ask you to shake a whole crowd. I ask you to soften one heart turned to ice. I do not ask you to free an entire nation. Just untie the ropes binding someone who is suffocating. True influence is not about intensity. It is about steady, deep saturation. And that soaking only happens when your soul is quiet enough for me to flow, my child. Many people try to make their mark on this world with loud announcements. But in doing so, they leave their own souls completely empty inside. The louder you shout, the more your ego takes over and the further I am pushed aside. But when you rest in my quiet presence without needing to show off, with no branding or desire for the spotlight, something silent unfolds. Others will see me in you before you even speak. They will not understand why they feel so peaceful when they are near you, why sitting beside you feels safe, or how talking with you heals a wound they fear to name. They might think it is your personality or natural kindness, but I know it is my spirit soaking through you, softening the driest parts of an exhausted soul. You do not have to preach to testify. Often simply refusing to fight back is enough. When everyone else is angry, you stay calm. When people attack with words, you do not defend yourself. When they expect drama for attention, you choose silence. I never called you to win arguments. I am inviting you to be a refuge for hurting, storm-tossed souls. Your deepest impact will not come from sermons, but from your steady presence. You do not seek to impress, yet you stay when others need support. The world labels this strength as weakness, passivity, or a lack of drive. But I call it pure strength, one that needs no applause to stand firm. Then eventually, people who once overlooked you will start asking you things they ask no one else. They will seek you out not for clever answers, but because you carry real peace. They will share deep questions they would never tell anyone else, sensing a gentle spirit that lifts them up without any judgment. You do not have to know all the answers. Just hold them in the warmth of the light I have placed inside you. A kind word, listening with your entire heart. Staying close when they finally open up, creating a space where I can do my work. You are simply the window. I am the light shining through. You are only the cup. I am the living water. Your impact is not measured by your words, but by how much room you give me to move in your life. My child, it can take years before you truly understand this sacred secret. Your worth is not about what you achieve, but what I do through you. The world calls it subtle influence, but I call it a testimony. Others notice how you live when no one is watching you. They watch you hold on to faith without guarantees, choosing kindness even when your own heart is hurting. And they will realize there is a strength greater than your own holding you steady. When they ask you about that power, you will not need to argue or prove anything. You will simply point to me, not with clever speech, nor through debate or arguments, but through the quiet peace that has become your heartbeat. In that very moment, your influence is pure. You are now the pathway, not the destination. There are souls all around you exhausted by the noise. Even if they cannot name this fatigue, they carry heavy words they have never spoken aloud, hidden pressures and deep anxieties that only show up in the dark, away from other eyes. They believe that in order to be noticed, they must scream, fight, and struggle to be heard over the noise. But my child, I don't heal through noise. I heal through peace. So I place you among them, not to argue, persuade, or prove anything, but simply to be a moment of quiet silence. When you don't feel the need to perform, when you don't guard your heart with pride, and when you don't see others as threats, their souls will sense something they cannot name, a deep peace not born of this world but from me. My beloved child, peace needs no explanation. It doesn't come to those who struggle and fight. It comes to the soul that rests in my hands. When you aren't dragged into their fights, when you refuse to react when provoked, and when you don't feel the need to win ego battles, you already become a safe harbor for weary souls. We often think having influence means doing things for people, but real impact happens when you stand beside someone just like I stand beside you. The world is used to loud power. I work through quiet, gentle power. A forest doesn't bloom because of roaring thunder, but because rain falls gently on its roots. You don't need weapons, you just need to be steady. A forest isn't made by a sudden burst of fire, but by the quiet persistence that keeps it alive. Let me show you a picture. Some people desperately chase fire to warm their souls, turning their whole lives upside down for a single spark. But then they step into a room where you are sitting quietly, trying to impress no one, simply calm and completely at ease, gentle but not weak. And suddenly they realize they can breathe. They don't know why. It's not because you shine brighter, but because you don't try to burn them. Peace spreads in a cold room like warmth. Some people call it good energy maturity or a nice personality. I call it my mark upon you. And then there are those who come to you in total chaos. They talk fast, terrified of judgment, desperate for someone to understand them right away. If you rush your response, they crumble. If you act superior, they shut down. If you give harsh advice without any gentleness, they will feel smaller than before. But when you sit with them, listen without rushing and look at them without judging, asking questions out of love instead of an agenda, you open a door. Many souls have never found the door that lets them feel like a human being, not a problem to solve. And in that quiet moment, I am at work. You might not realize it, but the words you keep silent can be a blessing far stronger than any sermon. My child, I want you to understand that this influence is not something you build on your own. Influence is a gift I pour through you. You can't force yourself to be gentle water. You can only let me turn you into a calm current. You can't teach other people to find peace. You can only live in the peace I give you so they can see that where your soul rests is the exact place they desperately want to be. You don't need methods, you just need room. Room for me to flow through you, for my breath to give you life, and for my silence to drift through you like wind through a valley. No one sees it, but everyone feels it. There are moments in your life where I never asked you to say a word. I didn't send you there to teach them, to prove how wise you are, or to show them what they don't know. I led you into chaotic places simply so you could bring peace there. Just like a lamp placed on a stand. It is not so bright that it blinds, but warm enough that souls used to the dark know they can stop trembling. My beloved child, let me tell you this. Some of the greatest miracles make no sound at all. They do not strike like lightning. They come like a gentle breeze over dry ground, turning dust back into living seeds. These silent miracles are the steady presence I place inside you, not so that you can show off your own glory, but so the hurting people around you know they are never abandoned. Yes, you heard me right. There are some broken souls who simply cannot handle a harsh, blinding light. They can only receive light when it is softened through someone who has learned how to be still. I put you there not because you are stronger than them, but because you know how to lean on me quietly. When they see that you do not panic in life's storms like everyone else, and when they notice you do not fight to always be right. When they realize your deep peace does not come from wealth or status, you are no longer the one doing the preaching. I am the one softening their hearts. They might not know what to call it. Some might call it strength, others might call it grit. Some think you are just carefree, but I see you. And you know, it is my own heart beating inside you, steady and slow, in a way the darkness can never mimic. My child, never underestimate the power of silence. A quiet spirit offers a shelter that 1,000 loud sermons could never build. There are people in your life who do not need another lecture. They need a shoulder to lean on, not a fiery pep talk. They need someone who stays. Remember, I did not shout at you with thunder when you were at your breaking point. I came as a gentle warmth that kept you together. When you share that same warmth with them, you show them a truth. They forgot that real strength is never about force. True strength is standing tall without ever having to push anyone else down. You might keep quiet, but your spirit is working, and I am right there beside you. Think back to when people opened up to you. They did not choose you because you had the perfect advice. They chose you because you never made them feel small. You often thought I was doing nothing, but that was exactly the point. You did not force them. You did not manipulate. You made no demands, so their hearts stayed open. You created a safe space where I could finally step in. I spoke directly to them through the quiet space you provided, through the tenderness you held onto and the patience you refused to give up on. Some truths are never taught through sermons. They are shared simply through breathing. When you rest in me, your breathing naturally matches mine, so do not hurry to find proof of any change. A tree never sees its own roots digging deeper, yet it knows it stands stronger after every heavy storm. And my beloved child, so do you. You have no idea who was saved from a breakdown just by sitting next to you in quietness. You do not know how many weary hearts found hope just because they saw someone who refused to let the world sweep them away. You cannot know how many lost souls found the strength to return home because they realized there was someone who loved me deeply without putting their faith on a giant billboard. I use your life just like morning dew on the grass, gentle, silent yet gently waking the young grass after a long dark night. My child, this is the secret of a quiet life. You do not have to force an impact. You only need to be the space where I can work. When you stop struggling to impress others, I can leave a lasting impression through your life. Once you stop chasing attention, I can shine brightly where you stand. When you stop fighting for your spot, I can make your life a safe shelter for souls too tired to keep running. The peace I put inside you is not meant for you to hoard. It is a flowing stream. Just open the gates and let me run through. Some people believe real faith only exists in loud, dramatic moments when big miracles happen, when God's signs appear and divine moments hit like thunder. But my precious child, if your soul only comes alive during earthquakes, you will always wait for the sky to shake before believing I am actually at work. That is not how I build you. I lead your soul into a steady, gentle rhythm, like a stream that never rushes, a heartbeat that does not perform, or the quiet morning light that always arrives right on time. I want you to hear this truth. True strength is not born on one spectacular day. It is forged through thousands of quiet, ordinary days when you simply refuse to quit. You might not feel it, but those empty-looking days are the exact ones prepping your soul to receive far greater blessings. My child, a steady spiritual rhythm is never empty repetition. It is the gentle pace I use to rescue your soul from the roller coaster of fleeting emotions. When you wake up with zero motivation but still choose to pray when you are exhausted, yet choose quiet grace over bitter resentment. When you see zero results but still do what is right, those choices are massive. They are the building blocks of your divine destiny. You cannot feel the shift because you are standing right inside it. A mighty oak does not grow from 4 seasons of violent storms, but through hundreds of quiet, windless mornings. You see delay, I see deep roots. You see boredom, I see a firm foundation. You see stillness, I see preparation. I know the world trained you to chase hype. People cling to peak experiences because they fear that without them, they are standing still. They chase excitement like a thirsty traveler hunting for water in the dry desert, forgetting that deep water hides beneath the dirt, not in the swirling sandstorm. I do not want you addicted to miracles. I want you to be a soul that deeply trusts me even when there are no miracles. Living in this steady rhythm means you no longer depend on external approval. You move forward because you trust me, not because you feel my presence. That is when your heart aligns with my divine will, no longer chasing after me, but simply walking beside me. Here is a secret I want you to learn. Most spiritual growth happens right where you are not even paying attention. Like when you quietly choose forgiveness, or when you refuse to fight back against lies. When you keep your quiet promises in secret, that is when your inner soul gets stronger. The world only celebrates flashy wins, but I see your hidden victories. Those secret triumphs are the most real because they do not need an audience. You might think nobody will ever notice, but my beloved child, I see you. I witness every single time you trust me instead of your fears. Every time you pause instead of rushing. Every time you choose to step back just to protect peace. None of those moments are wasted because nothing happens outside of my care. Please understand this. Through this steady, quiet rhythm, you are transformed from the inside out. There are no flashy fireworks, no dramatic light beams, and no grand finale for crowds to applaud. There are only tiny steps and seemingly small choices, yet those very moments build a deeply resilient soul. When the storm hits you, do not shake like a fragile sapling. You stand strong like a trunk that has absorbed water year after year. No one else sees that hidden journey, but you do not need their validation anyway. I have seen it. I was right there every morning you felt too weak to move, yet still got up. I was there every evening you were completely exhausted, yet still chose kindness. All of these quiet moments are proof of your spiritual maturity, not for the crowd, but just for us. There are seasons when the winds howl so hard you honestly think you are about to snap. Not because you lack faith, but because everything you once stood on feels like it is resisting you. My precious child, look closely at what I am teaching you. True peace does not mean a life without storms. It is finding me as your anchor right in the middle of the raging sea. I never called you to run from the storm. You are called to learn how to stand firm in me without being swept away. The world says peace is having everything under your control, but in me, true stability is when your heart stops letting outside chaos dictate your inner peace. When you focus your heart on me, fear no longer defines you. Your wounds stop being your identity, and heavy emotions stop ruling your mind. Some days your prayers do not rise like songs, they fall like broken whispers. There are nights when you simply lack the strength to even whisper, please help me. You can only sigh in your exhaustion, but I hear those quiet breaths. True peace is not born from bold, loud prayers, but from the quiet moments when you are so weak that all you can do is rest in my hands without needing to understand. In those quiet times, the very depth of your soul begins to transform. You stop treating me like an emergency escape and start breathing me in like the air around you. When that happens, life's sudden storms can no longer tear your inner world apart. They only show how deep your spiritual roots have grown without you even realizing. My child, you often ask me, why do I still feel so unsettled? Because you are building a quiet strength that most people never slow down to find. True peace does not mean avoiding pain, but knowing who holds you through it. A boat cannot choose the rough waves, but it can choose where to drop anchor. Your soul cannot avoid the storms of this life, but you can always choose to anchor yourself in me. And when you keep me at the center, not just with loud words, but by trusting me with every little decision, you will start to notice something beautiful. The things that used to terrify you now just make you pause and listen. What once broke your heart now just leads you to rest your hand on your chest, letting me heal it. What once made you tremble only reminds you that you always have a safe place to run. I never wanted you to become completely numb to the struggles of this world. I am not turning you into cold stones silent in your pain. I am shaping you into a deep valley where fierce winds blow through but cannot wash away the soil. Real spiritual strength means you no longer react out of self-defense but move in the deep peace I have sown. When people throw hurtful words, you do not crash. You look at them knowing they are fighting an invisible storm inside themselves. When the world demands you prove your worth, you do not scramble to defend yourself, but choose to walk in quiet trust, knowing that I am the one who defines who you are. That is true stability, not because you got stronger, but because you are no longer tossed around by every passing wave. My dear child, this inner strength is rarely noticed while it is growing. It does not make a loud show like a sudden victory. It is like roots digging deep into the quiet earth. It does not build up when you are shining before the crowd. It grows when people completely misunderstand you, yet you choose to keep your heart open and soft. Nobody cheers for those quiet moments, yet those are the very victories that guard your soul. The world loves loud, aggressive energy, but I honor the heart that knows when to be silent. The world rewards brute force, but I strengthen those whose quiet resilience lives deep inside. When you live like this, you do not just stand firm. You'll become a safe harbor where other hurting souls can find healing. There are times when you feel you must react right away, as if stopping to breathe is weak or keeping quiet means you will be forgotten, unseen, or left behind. But my dear child, my rhythm is not about reacting on pure instinct. It is about leaning in to listen before you speak, move, or make a choice. With me, you do not act out of pressure. You move because of divine guidance, and I do not always speak in some loud, booming voice. Often I lead you with a quiet peace, like water flowing under the soil, gently softening the ground for your roots. Your path is simply learning to notice that gentle flow, even if it is just a tiny whisper in your soul, and choosing to follow. My child, a quick reaction comes from fear, but a true response comes from trust. When you react, you let circumstances rule your mind. But when you respond, you let me guide your steps. Reacting outruns reflection, outruns prayer, and because of that, it rarely brings real peace. But a true response begins in stillness before me. It is never frantic, never rushed, never explosive, never trying to prove a point. Sometimes responding means a gentle word. Sometimes it means sacred silence. Sometimes you step forward. Sometimes you step back. This rhythm of divine response is never a rigid formula. It is a relationship. Your soul learns to ask me, Lord, who do you want me to become, instead of asking right here, what must I do to win? This rhythm teaches you something far deeper. Remember, you do not have to save yourself from every single problem. When you react because you fear being misunderstood, you are just building walls to protect your own ego. But when you respond from a well of deep peace, you let me protect who you truly are. I do not want you fighting in every argument, even when you know you are right. You do not have to fight back against every accusation, even when you could easily win. I do not want you forcing your way through every door, even if you can cross it. I will only lead you through the doors meant for you, because some doors open only to drain your strength and wear down your weary heart, making you forget your true calling. You are meant to live in me, not to battle the whole world. My beloved child, remember that I place you in certain spots not to change everyone else, but to protect your own soul. When someone hurts you, reaction screams, I have to protect myself. But response quietly says, I let God protect me, and I keep my heart soft. When someone pressures you to make a quick choice, reaction demands immediate action. But response says, I will listen first. When you feel cornered, reaction yells, I cannot look weak. But response whispers, I am not alone. Right there, you witness a miracle. I turn that pressure into rich soil where your roots grow deeper. I transform every attack into a chance for you to grow in patience. I shape every dead end into a hidden step that lifts your soul higher. People might watch you respond and assume you are slow, indecisive, or just too gentle. They do not know you are tuned to a different frequency, a rhythm not of this world. They miss how many words you hold back. They do not see you choosing silence. They do not see you letting go of opportunities just to guard your peace. But I see it all. I see every single time you walk away from battles that were never yours. I see every moment you choose soft gentleness over winning. I see you resisting wild impulses just to hold on to one tiny whisper of my guidance. Nobody else records those quiet moments, but I write them down because they are more than just actions. They are proof of a beautiful soul that has learned to walk with me. Trust me, when you live in this peaceful rhythm, it transforms your heart and the very space around you. People near you will sense they no longer need to keep their guard up. Conversations soften. Your relationships are no longer ruled by pride. You do not bring a loud presence into the room. You bring my listening grace, gentleness, and clarity. And through that simple peace, you unlock doors that arguments could never touch. Here your quiet influence becomes a truly great miracle. Nobody notices when it first begins, but one day they realize they are changed, not because you forced them to, but because my spirit passed through you. My beloved child, if you have listened this far, it means your soul hears me with a deep and beautiful longing. You have walked with me through seasons of silence, pages of perseverance, quiet words I whispered into spaces where only willing hearts could hear. Let me say this as we close, not to shut things down, but to open a door. I do not prove my love with massive miracles, but with the quiet presence holding your soul upright. If you only look for me in the lightning, you will miss me in the gentle breeze. If you only watch for me in big winds, you won't recognize me on quiet, ordinary days. But once you learn to notice those tiny moments, you will see I was always there in every breath, every comeback, and every time you held on in secret. My child, spiritual growth does not show up in loud victory shouts, but in your ability to walk quietly when the path is hidden. You think I only move in sudden dramatic ways, but I work deepest when your heart trusts me without needing proof. When you stand alone in the quiet and choose to trust me, that is when heaven shakes. When you keep your heart soft even after life tries to harden it, that is when I call your name. When you keep walking even without knowing where your foot will land, that is when your true destiny begins. You constantly ask me when, but the deeper question is, are you ready for me to work in your hidden spaces? Because my love for you does not arrive like a heavy storm, it falls gently like mist. It never breaks you, it heals. It never forces its way, it simply invites. I am not here to break you. I came to lift you up piece by piece until you learn to stand not because of your own power, but because you lean on me. Once you realize this, waiting stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like grace. Taking slow steps is no longer a failure but preparation. Every closed door is no longer rejection but my protection. Everything you go through has my fingerprints on it, even when they are hidden. Remember this, my child. I do not give you blessings because you manage to outshine everyone else. I hand them to you when you learn to listen. I do not search for flashy souls, but those who know how to return home. I do not choose you because you are stronger than the rest. I choose you because you let me get close. And when you let me in, I transform your deep wounds into streams of light, broken pieces into strong foundations, and your past into wings. You do not have to prove your worth to anyone anymore. Just step deeper into my love, and the world will see my light in you. If you forget everything else, remember this one thing. I never abandon you, not during the darkest night, not when you collapse, and not when you feel completely lost. I am the warmth holding your soul together. I am the quiet sanctuary sheltering your dreams. I am the breath within you even when you are too exhausted to pray. You have never walked alone, and you will never have to face this journey alone. Keep moving forward. I am waiting for you just ahead, living the very story I wrote before you even knew my name. Pray this prayer with me now. Father, teach me to sense your quiet presence in every heartbeat so I stop demanding loud miracles before I believe you are close. Open my eyes to notice you in the simple everyday steps I take, in my weakest hours and in every single breath, so I know I do not survive by my own power but by your secret love. Lord, help me recognize the small blessings I used to dismiss as just getting by. Do not let me view my endurance as my own victory, but rather as your gentle hand keeping my soul from shattering. Break me of the habit of calling your work mere coincidence, so I can bow in thankfulness for the times I almost fell yet somehow kept standing. Lord, free me from demanding a storm before I believe you are speaking. Teach me to hear your voice in a light breeze, in the soft quiet, and in the gentle nudges pulling me back from the edge. Help my heart truly listen to your spirit instead of constantly chasing emotional highs. Lord, set me free from the heavy burden of trying to prove I am strong, good, or worthy enough to be loved by you. Teach me to rest in the love you already give instead of chasing after human praise and approval. Help me receive like a trusting child rather than striving like a slave just to be accepted. Lord, teach me how to surrender, not because I am helpless, but because I trust you. Break my fear that everything will fall apart if I let go of control. Give me the courage to open my hands and release the things I cannot carry into yours. And give me the humility to know that real safety comes from your guidance, not my own striving. Lord, quiet my heart whenever I try to hold on tightly to things that are slipping away. Help me trust that you only remove things from my life to protect the beautiful future you have planned. Help me believe that when you shut a door, it is not a punishment, but pure mercy. Lord, teach me to find peace, not just after the storm passes, but while the wild waves are still crashing around me. Show me how to stop living in constant fear of loss, always waiting for the next blow, and instead stand in perfect peace knowing you hold my life in your hands day by day. Lord, soften my heart whenever I go through tough times. Guard me from bitterness and resentment when others misunderstand me, leave me behind, or ignore how hard I have tried. Keep me gentle not because I have the strength, but because you live inside of me. Lord, forgive the moments I mistook your silence for your absence. Forgive me for running away just because I could not feel your presence. Open my spiritual eyes to see that silence is not abandonment. It is the protective blanket you place over a seed that needs darkness to grow. Lord, break my habit of trying to build my future out of fear and worry. Help me realize my path is not built by human planning, but prepared by your hands. Show me how to walk step by step in the light you shine beneath my feet rather than trying to see the whole road ahead. Lord, let this truth become as natural as breathing, that I do not need miracles to know I am loved. Write it deep upon my soul that you love me the most in the moments I feel weakest. Do not let me surrender my inner peace just because I cannot see any changes on the outside yet. Lord, teach me to live like someone who is already secure, not someone constantly waiting to be saved. Show me how to see myself through your eyes instead of through my failures and delays, or through the judgment of others, but through your quiet presence which has lifted me up every time I thought I would never rise again.